Heyo!
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Everybody, sorry we're a little late, but that's because our guests, we've already started getting a good conversation, so
Oh,
should be
yeah,
a really
man.
good show.
Should be a good show. We're going to welcome him right now, and then we'll say hello to everybody in the chat. So please welcome Professor Murf to our stream, everybody.
That's it. Blame the guest. All right, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's
So,
up, guys?
yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It was so good to have you on.
Thanks for having me. The other Murph. There's two Murphs in our CG universe.
That's
Or are there
right.
more than two? I think we're the only two, right?
I think it's the only two. There's Murph with the F and Murph with the PH.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
hey, Crazy Matt.
Yeah,
We
I
got
think
Crazy
that's
Matt
it.
here. We got Mo Biggs in the house.
Mighty
Hello,
Mo.
Biggs. And we got Peter Retro Palmiotti. Thanks for stopping by. It's great to have you in here. We actually have Peter inking a couple covers for us right now.
Oh, nice.
And so he's working on those as we speak. And it's been pretty great. He showed a little preview of it tonight. And we're pretty excited to get those back and see them finished. So, yeah, I mean, we're not going to show them on here yet. We're probably going to wait until everything's colored before we show them. But
When are you launching?
we're looking to launch, what is it, February 3rd, Murph, or 4th?
3rd or 4th. We haven't made a decision if we
Yeah.
want to launch it on a Friday or third. Wait, is it Thursday or Friday or Friday? or
Yeah,
Saturday?
Thursday or Friday. It's 3rd and 4th is Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday.
Cool.
Kind
That's
of like
pretty
we were
soon.
talking about with Rob.
Mhm.
I think Rob believes doing it on a weekday isn't a great idea because people are at work for the whole day.
Well, Rob also said don't launch on Bancroft's show. So,
Yeah.
what are you saying,
He
Rob?
did.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, and for
Yeah.
like little guys like us, man, that's like one of the best places for
Yeah,
us to go.
and
for sure.
it gets bigger and bigger every year. I mean, his show just keeps growing. But I know why he was saying. I watched that stream, and Rob's great.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were talking about backstage, Rob has been probably instrumental in giving out information that he's learned that he honestly could have just
right.
kept himself. He didn't have to
Right.
give it out to anybody, and he's very generous to do that.
Yeah, he's not.
Hey,
Hail
Jeremy,
crackhead.
thanks for coming on, man.
He's
Yeah,
not
so
being
Crazy
people
Mad.
from them.
Crazy Mad has a question of the week: pancakes or waffles?
Waffles. For me.
Waffles.
Waffles.
Yeah,
With
I'm a waffles guy
strawberries
too.
poured all over them.
Mhm. I'm with you
Waffles,
on that too.
waffles plain are better than pancakes with stuff in it.
Yeah, waffles rule.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we're so happy to have you on tonight because I think we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we like to geek out on, which is some of the what would you call it? Cryptid animals,
Mhm.
animals in mythology, things like that. And with your story, War Party, it really goes along with that idea and some of the mythology of the Native Americans. So,
Yeah.
how would you like to maybe
Sure,
intro us
yeah.
into that?
Sure. Well, the handbook kind of gets into all that with my series, but basically, the research I did on shapeshifters or skinwalkers was actually in Native American culture. They didn't like to talk about it. It was considered a
right.
dark magic. It was.
They still don't talk about it, right?
No, and if you ever
They're
heard of
scared
like
of
the Wendigo, of course, Wendigos
Yeah.
and things like that. So what I wanted to do is sort of take it and create this subset tribe that took the dark
great.
magic and used it for good, which is my lead character. Hey, Oz, great sage, hail.
Thanks for
Thanks,
coming
Oz.
on. Oz, great man.
Yeah. And basically, took the evil and used it for good, or what was perceived as being evil. But a little bit of Celtic stuff too. I don't know if you know, but a lot of times Celtic warriors in Britain would put on the skins of animals when they went into combat,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
they
I
would
did
they
know
would
that.
they'd get all high on whatever they were drinking or whatever
Berserkers, right? Isn't that what they
Yeah,
call them?
exactly.
Berserkers? Yeah.
And
yeah.
they actually
That's funny.
believed that they turned into that animal in combat. To help
That
them
was going
fight.
to be one of my questions with you clearly being Irish. Why did you decide to go with Native Americans?
Well, because I'm both.
Okay.
I have quite a bit. My great grandmother was one quarter Cherokee, and then of course,
Okay.
you know, you go back to her father, and then his mother, and it's full-blooded Cherokee. So
That's
I
awesome.
have
I have
quite a
that in
bit
my
of
family.
Native American in me, but a lot more Irish, obviously.
Aren't we
So
all Cherokee? I think that's kind of
in
funny.
the South, especially if you grew up, yeah, especially if you grew up in the American South, there was a
Yeah.
lot of
Oh yeah.
intermarrying between
Um,
Native Americans and
so
Europeans.
my great grandfather was half. His mother was full blooded, I think. So yeah, it was his mother that
Yeah,
was full blooded.
that's a lot.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you might
pretty
be able to
crazy.
qualify for benefits.
Might, but I think once you break it down, how like down to me, it's like I have what a 16th or an eighth or something,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
going really.
I'm gonna. You need to get Elizabeth Warren on the phone. Tell her you got more than she does.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
gotta
that's
leave
kind of where
that out.
it all came
Get
from.
me
You
on
know,
a
I grew
rant.
up watching monster movies and things like The Howling, which I always loved. Rick
Oh
Baker's
yeah,
special effects and movies like American Werewolf in London and things like
those
that.
things were such train wrecks. You had to watch them. I think, like,
Oh, I
they
loved
you
them.
could tell they were so. Some of them, like later, the first one was great, but I think the
Well,
later
I'm
ones
not talking
got
about the
really
sequels.
cheesy. Yeah,
No,
the
I'm talking
sequels
about the
got terrible.
groundbreaking, the first one when it came
Yeah.
out and everyone was like, "Whoa, this is happening on camera! I don't believe this."
Yes, that one
Um,
was cool. I agree with you on
yeah,
that. For the time period, for sure. But it's pancakes, of course. Of course. We got some
So,
pancakes in here.
do you consider werewolves to be skinwalkers, or is that a different thing?
well, what I did in this was whatever your totem, whatever the character's totem was, a totem is the animal that it's like your spirit animal. So everybody, according to the lore, has a totem, depending on your personality and maybe when you were born, things like that. So his totem was the wolf, which is why he becomes a werewolf. This guy's totem was the gator, so he becomes a were-gator, and you got a jaguar, a bear, and an eagle. And what's great about that is whatever I do in this universe beyond this series, I can create were versions of pretty much any animal I want, depending on
Oh,
who
that's
that
cool.
character's totem is. So it's not really a
I like
werewolf
that.
book. It just happens to have a werewolf
A
in it.
werewolf.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to get back to
Mo
the
says,
fantasy, but I was going to say, because it's not, do you still get offended every time there's a werewolf
No.
comic in CD?
No,
Like,
I mean, I'm not offended. It does seem
no,
like there's definitely a zeitgeist happening where there's a
yeah,
lot of
there's a lot.
werewolf interest. I was fortunate enough that I got in on it really early. The only other books out there when I launched was, I mean, obviously, Graveyard Shift has werewolves in it, and
mhm.
Ailsa Dark. Those are the only two that I know of. Sovereign Wolf came right after me, and then Viking Wolf, and then and the rest of them. But
Okay.
and by the way, me
And
and
yours
Eddie
is unique,
yeah, well, me and Eddie are talking about a possible team up in the future.
Crossover.
A war
Yeah.
party, yeah, a war
Love it.
party, Sovereign Wolf. That would
Crossover.
be.
Oh,
I
that
think
is
that would
awesome. I
really
love that idea.
our
That'd be
worlds
fun.
overlap really well.
Have we haven't had a crossover yet in CG,
There's been a
have we?
few, but I think that
Maybe a
one would
few?
be
Okay.
really big. Because
Yeah.
Eddie's obviously great, and he's got a lot of fans and backers,
Oh yeah.
and people
That's
love
awesome.
Sovereign Wolf. I'm one of the backers, and of course my fans are awesome. I love my backers. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Like I said,
But
I
you guys
passed
both
1,500 today, and I was
from
just like, this is nuts, man. I mean, I remember when I passed 1,000, and that was considered a milestone. And
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
awesome, man.
I'm just going to
Congratulations
keep it
on
open
that.
as long as people want it.
So you and Eddie both you've been known for fulfilling, and your fulfillments were very praised, very highly praised by a lot of people, I heard. So you have
Yeah,
both have really good reputations.
Eddie did a great job in packaging and just making a presentation when you got it. It was really
Yeah.
cool to open up that box and everything, the way he packaged everything. And he took great advice on rolling up the posters, not folding them, because people hate creases in their posters.
Mhm.
Right.
So he did everything right. He even
That's
paid
awesome.
priority mail on some of those things. I was like, dude,
Wow.
you're red carpet treatment.
Yeah, that's
Mine's a little
awesome.
different, whereas I'm trying to fulfill it more like you've subscribed to a series of floppies. So you'll get
Oh, okay.
you get the first three floppies, and then you get the next one with the zero, and then you get the next one. And because I'm able to send them media mail, I can afford it. I
Okay.
can't afford it internationally. My international backers have to wait until I get the whole thing done because it's just it's ungodly what it costs to ship this stuff overseas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But domestically, it's not that bad. I mean, it's like I think less than $4 to send 3 floppies. It's
Oh,
not,
wow.
not terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Let me get to Mo's chat here. Elizabeth Warren may not have DNA on her side, but her cheekbones tell the tale of her shape-shifting ancestors.
Oh, yeah, well, she's a reptilian, Mo. You know she's a reptilian.
Yes,
All of
you know
those
she is.
politicians are
See those
reptilian.
eyes go sideways on her. Okay, Mo also says, out of respect for Eddie and the esteemed Professor Murf, I've indefinitely delayed the launch of my World War Wolf book, Howlets.
Hey, Mo,
Oh,
if you
my
ever
gosh.
release a book after and you don't release AR-15 Orangutan first,
I
I'm
know.
befriending you, Mo.
That's the way I feel.
Never, you don't even joke about that. We have to get
We
our
need to get that
AR-15.
out there, man.
Yes.
We definitely need that out there. It'd be a lot of fun.
So going
We'll
back
make a
to the
killing on it.
tokens,
Yeah.
can people decide what their token is? Is it DNA?
No.
Is there?
It's you know, kind of like you take the personality test with Harry Potter and
Okay.
it tells you if you're a Slytherin or a Gryffindor or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
What happens is Diane, my lead character in the story, she's right there, right there.
Here, can you put his,
yeah.
when he shows stuff, can you put his thing up big so everyone can see it?
You want the War Party in demand up?
No, he's talking about the camera.
His camera full.
She
Oh,
unlocks.
yeah. We'll solo it. Oh, wait.
Well, now it's you. We don't want to see you.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. I'm figuring it out.
There you go. It's all right. I mean, I'm holding it close up. You can see it.
I'm not getting you there the way I want you to, but we'll get there
Fine.
eventually.
She unlocks the totem. So without her, you're not going to know what your totem is. So and the book talks about that. It talks about how first the totem has to be determined what it is, and then you have to put on a pelt made of the skins or scales or feathers or whatever of the animal.
Wow.
Okay. Then after that, she has to paint this. This is the symbol of transformation, the Native American symbol of transformation, and it's to protect you from evil spirits. So if she doesn't put that on you, you might lose yourself. You know what I mean? It might corrupt your soul, so to speak.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she has to do that, and then here's where it gets a little kinky, I guess. You have to consume her essence, meaning you have to drink some of her blood, and it activates the power in your body. And then after that, the pelt comes to life, kind of like a symbiote, and attacks the host, merges with the host. And then you grow about 2 to 3 times, there we go, 2 to 3 times your normal size, depending on what your animal is. Of course, you see there's the human male growing into the werewolf, which is about 11 feet tall, somewhere around there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but so I tried to do it kind of like, not scientifically, but sort of put some science behind the fantasy, to make it a little more interesting. And then I talk about all the different things that can happen to you, like your size and strength and speed and agility and how those are affected, what kind of healing properties you have. Do you get any anomalies such as wings or horns or tails or shoot venom or whatever, and then a size chart. So you see a human male there on the far left. And these are my characters in this series. Of course, you see how big the bear is. The grizzly bear is 13 feet tall. He's a beast.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and it gives me a lot of flexibility in storytelling. And I love history. Last of the Mohicans was one of my favorite movies. If you've ever seen it,
it is a great movie.
Lewis. And I was like, gosh, if you took that and just threw some werewolves and weregators in there, we've got something happening. And a hot Native American girl, we're good to go.
That's pretty cool. I love it. I love the idea of this story.
Thanks.
When it came to the human-animal hybrid, was there anything you tried to stick to it, or was it complete? Like, for instance, like Marvel and DC both have a lizard. They have Killer Croc, and
the lizard.
Is it just what's Spider-Man's lizard called?
Just the lizard. Yeah, just lizard.
Yeah, the lizard.
And like Ninja Turtles. Like, did you have something where their bodies always have to have like human arms and legs, or?
Yeah, I try to keep them humanoid only because I prefer that. Where it gets tricky. Where it gets tricky, though, and they talk, by the way. They don't lose their powers of speech. So what it does is it enhances whatever is in you, kind of like The Mask, with Jim Carrey. Whatever's in you, it enhances that. So if you're holding in some resentment or deep-seated desire for revenge or whatever, that's going to come out. You're still going to be you, but it's going to amplify that stuff. And that's what happens with these characters is they become very, very aggressive and beast-like, but they still know who they are. They're still aware. It's not like the Incredible Hulk where they just start trashing everything. They don't know who they are. So I wanted to do it that way because I want them to be able to communicate. I just want a bunch of grunting and everything. I mean, this is an organized war party. That's why it's called War Party. So they have to be able to communicate and strategize and attack just as if they were human beings. But they're taking on the French and the British armies simultaneously by the end of the story. So they find themselves trapped in the war between two sides.
Does that mean you can't do an animal like a snake because of that, or
There is a snake.
okay?
He is right here. That is Rautag. Rautag is an Algonquin warrior, and he's sort of the antagonist to my lead character, and that's his totem is the rattlesnake. So he's got a rattler tail. I did him kind of like I kind of went the He-Man approach. You know what I mean? Like spitting venom and things like that. Now, if they stay in that form too long, you will eventually be overtaken by the animal and become the animal. You will not be able to. So there's in the book talks about that, how many moons can pass before you have to go back to your human form. And Diane, I have an issue 0. Diane is the Native American shaman, the lead character. She, well, I don't want to give it away in issue 0, but there's something about her blood that's very important beyond just the ability to give them a shape-shifting powers. Her blood, there's something in her bloodstream that's not divine, but it's she doesn't age the way we do. It's kind of like a Wolverine thing, where she lives throughout the ages and ages about a year every 50. So for our 50, she's aged biologically about a year. And there's more about that. I talk about that with Ponce de Leon. Giant term out. Hey man, I will let you in on something. The next series is called Party Blackout, and it's in New York City in 1977 during the blackout when New York City went dark for 2 days.
Yeah.
And the son of Sam.
Awesome.
Yeah, the son of Sam was running around Manhattan killing people, and they hadn't caught him yet.
That's cool.
And there is a character. He's a Broadway performer. And
that's awesome.
His totem is a pigeon. So he will become a were-pigeon in New York City. I'm not joking. This is really going to happen. So that's what's fun about it, is you can have fun with it, and it doesn't always have to be threatening animals. It can be things that might, on the surface, seem silly, but I'm going to try to make it cool, like still make it look cool. Because if you can't control what your totem is, who's to say, your totem isn't, a poodle or something? I don't know. It can be anything. Or a dinosaur, and you got to go get the DNA of an extinct animal to put it on your body. I mean, there's all sorts of things.
Now,
a were-possum. That's nice.
What about a were-possum?
Do you allow mythical animals as well, or like the Wendigo? Is that or
no? Because what the Wendigo is when Wendigos, they became Wendigos when they ate human flesh. So if you gave in to cannibalism, you became a Wendigo, according to some of the legends. So a Wendigo is a perverse form of whatever it is. It's not an actual creature. So no, it could, in my mythology, it has to be something that you can actually tangibly put on your body that contains the DNA of the creature. Like if your totem is a gator, and you don't have a gator pelt, there's nothing she can do for you. You got to go kill an alligator. She has to make you a pelt. You have to put it on, and you merge with the DNA of that pelt using her power. So there's a lot of hoops to get around, and I wanted to make it that way so they can't just wolf out when they feel like it. They have to go through this ritual every time with her. and she's the power source. And so she loans out these powers, but she doesn't ever really fully give it to you. She can, if she doesn't, if she decides, okay, the mission's over, you're not transforming again without her. So I'm kind of treating her kind of like if you remember the show Quantum Leap, Scott
Yes.
Bakula. He'd go around and this, even though he was the lead character, whatever the storyline was of that episode, it would be about a problem that in time that those particular people are having, and he would come in and help them and then move on. Well, that's kind of what Diane does. She finds herself at different points throughout American history assembling different war parties throughout the ages to accomplish whatever the objective is. And in this, it's to him to save his daughter. His daughter was abducted. His 8-year-old daughter was abducted, and his whole family was killed. And she's going to be sold to the French, to this marquis who likes to buy kids. He's a buyer of children.
Right.
If you know what that, you know where I'm going with that.
Oh, yeah.
So he's determined to get her back, and he enlists the help of Diane along with his brothers and some of these other guys to go rescue his daughter. So that's the mission in this.
She doesn't ever fully give it to you. Does anyone fully give it to her?
Mo, issue 4, maybe.
Because of the time this takes place, are you having any historical figures?
Yes. Well,
Nice.
like prime
That'd be
example,
great.
at the beginning of the war, General Braddock was killed. The French won a big battle. Braddock was killed, and the British were driven out of the wilderness or out of the Ohio territories. So when they were, the war parties allied to the French had free reign of the colonial settlements to just burn and kill everybody. And that's how he loses his family, is right after Braddock's defeat. They're away and they can't protect their family, and their families are killed by a war party allied to the French. So they do have sort of, there's some overlap here and there. Of course, the one Blackout in New York, I talk about the Son of Sam, so David Berkowitz, he's kind of a peripheral sort of figure in the story. So I do try to overlap it with history, but I'm trying to do it in a way where it doesn't really change history. In other words,
Right.
when Diane helps somebody, it's a very small mission. It's helping somebody get their daughter back. It's helping somebody, whatever, escape from some sort of oppression over here, whatever it is. But she's not like changing the overall course of American history, because I want to keep sort of the events the way we've known them. And this is kind of like the best kept secret. Because in this war, they're out in the wilderness, and everyone they encounter either is killed or no one believes them. So this stuff falls into myth and legend, and there's no real evidence of it anymore. And that's how I'm kind of able to get around the whole changing history thing.
That's awesome.
I was just thinking of The Patriot, because Mel Gibson's character was so tormented about what they did to the Native
I
Americans.
love that movie.
Right.
Was that a real person? Was he a real person, or was that all just made up?
Yes and no. They based him on Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox. The Swamp Fox was a guerrilla fighter in South Carolina, and he would attack the British and then retreat to the swamp with his men. And he used Indian tactics to fight during the war, and that's why he was so successful.
Yeah.
The other part played by Jason Isaacs, who plays the real crazy British cavalryman that's burns all those people alive. He was based on Banastre Tarleton, who was a young British cavalry commander who was called the Butcher, because he wouldn't take any quarter. He would kill if you surrendered. He'd just have his men hack you
anyway.
apart with sabers.
Gosh.
Yeah. So they were both kind of loosely based on those characters, but they weren't those characters. But if you remember in the movie, Cornwallis, who was the real British general, Cornwallis is in the movie.
Yes.
Mel Gibson's character actually sort of hoodwinks him or whatever.
Yeah. I love
So
it.
that's kind of how you do it. You kind of blend some of the truth with the fiction and just sort of interweave it. It gives it a sense of authenticity, so it doesn't feel like you're just making stuff up left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know our story takes place before the flood, and so
Nephilim.
we can, and we
Yeah.
can make up anything we want with that, with as much mythology and weird stuff as we want to do.
As much as I didn't like the movie Noah, I did like how they depicted the debauchery and the craziness leading up to
Yes,
the
I like
flood.
that too.
Because I
Yes.
was like, whoa, this is messed up. Like they were like
Uh-huh.
eating people and attacking like kids. Like it was, you could tell it was like
Yes.
the grossest of the gross sort of humanity. And that was important. There were some cool things in that
Yes.
movie. It just got really kind of weird.
Yeah, it was
But
convoluted, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah,
But they messed up the story, I think. But yeah, I think you're right. That's one thing I liked about it too, was some of the
The only
peripheral
thing that
stuff.
they did take some like Jewish mythology in it
right,
too.
right.
But the only
I
thing that I couldn't figure out is they showed a clip of like an army and a guy had a fire sword, and I was like, where'd they get that from?
yeah,
Like that's not a
or when the rocks come alive and start building the ark for him, I'm like, what
Yeah,
is
that was
that? I
weird
mean, I
too.
guess it's part of legend. I don't know. There's some weird things in there that you're like, it just took you out of the
Yeah.
movie almost. I'm like, are we watching
Yeah,
Lord
it
of the
took me
Rings
out.
or a Bible movie? Like, what are we watching? You know,
Yeah.
it's
well.
like,
I think they were like,
Right.
how can we make them like Transformers and
yeah,
make them
it
beat
was weird,
rocks that
but I tell you, the depictions when he went to town or whatever, and before and like interacted with the people, I was like, man, this part feels kind of like how probably it would have been.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It
I
would
mean,
have to be
that's
really disgusting humanity for God to just go, it's over. It's like just
you're
wipe it all
right.
out. You know?
Ours, I think ours takes place, way before it gets to that point.
yeah
Right, Kevin? So
yeah
it's, but we do deal with a lot of, what do you want to tell them? Like hybrid animals, things like that?
um just gosh
Touch on it
you
at
know it's
least.
like what you want to talk and stuff. I mean it's just they had more technology than we realized. I mean they had the
Yeah.
Great Wall of China, the pyramids, all of that stuff. We're gonna try to make sense of all that. They did. I mean, even you could see with Egypt, you said DNA. You could see they understood DNA. Um,
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
I
that's where the
mean,
whole myth of Atlantis comes from, is that whole
yeah. Oh,
lost
yeah. We're definitely gonna have
civilization of,
Atlantis,
yeah,
and so, but that's cool too.
the rock
We can
wars.
do things.
Leave it to
Oh my
Mo to
gosh.
keep things entertaining.
That's right. Boy, oh boy.
Well, it's cool. I
But
mean,
yeah, so
I like that you're drawing from mythology and history and just having
Yeah.
fun with it. And it's true. The further back you go, the more you can play with it, honestly, because the less
Yeah.
people know about what's really going on.
Right.
So yeah, it's always fun. To me, the past is way more interesting than the present. If I can put
Right.
something
Right.
yesterday, to me, it's just far more interesting.
well, cell
Sure.
phones kind of
Ruined at
take
horror
away
movies.
a
Yes.
lot of problems.
Could you imagine Friday the 13th today when everyone's got a cell phone and internet? I mean, Jason
Yeah.
wouldn't get off one kill. He'd get one kill and then it'd be over, you know?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. One thing that we do, we were talking about some of the hybrid. I said hybrid animals, but I don't think that gives away anything to our story because
No,
when you look at mythology, even Greek
yeah, there's tons
mythology,
of them.
like centaurs, just a
Mhm.
basic. That's like one of the first things people think of, and half man, half horse.
Chimeras.
Why? Yeah, why was
Yeah.
that stuff there? We're trying to get into that of why did so many cultures of the world believe in those types of beings, those types of animals, and
Well,
but I think it definitely ties into like what you're doing with the totems and the
Hmm.
or
and that's one
skinwalkers,
thing
whatever you want to call
I wanted to bring that up. Like every society has always looked at animals as something to either I won't say I mean I guess some cultures have worshipped animals,
them. Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
they're always been a sign of strength or speed. Like even today, your football teams, basketball teams, they're
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
eagles, bears, lions. Like they're all you know what I mean? It's such a
Well, it's because Americans, human beings, and maybe Americans too, are we're incredibly physically weak. Even the
Oh
strongest
yeah,
man would be
yeah.
torn apart by a chimpanzee, like a
yeah,
chimpanzee,
Oh
not a
right.
because they're just their sinew and their muscle and they're so powerful that I think a gorilla can lift like 4 or 5 thousand pounds. Rob,
yeah, it is something like that.
Mo is on a roll tonight.
Oh he is. Rob's a mythological beast. He has the body of a man, the brain of a horse. Sadly, he's the last of the centaurs. Awesome.
Yay. Dang.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
well,
and
yeah,
then,
yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no explanation for dinosaur bones, so they came up with some weird shit. I do
Yeah, well,
agree.
that's where dragons came from, right? You
No,
know?
Probably.
I honestly believe dinosaurs were dragons because in Asia they actually had the dragon master who would bring like that was a guy's job.
Hmm.
So that's what I think, and that's what our story's going to kind of have that.
Yeah, I'm always stunned when I read about how powerful some of these animals were. That's why I saved the grizzly bear for my final sort of
Oh,
reveal
Yeah.
character.
yeah.
Grizzly bears are in the top three most powerful animals on the planet. It's like I think gorillas pound for pound are the strongest. A gorilla
Sure.
can lift like 4 or 5 thousand pounds. It's insane. That's like
That's
a car,
crazy.
you know. Um, and grizzlies are
That was
right up
great.
there, and I think tigers are right up there. They're like the
Yeah.
three most, and of course, elephants. I mean, if you want to talk about war elephants or whatever, but they're huge. I'm talking pound for pound, and it's just it shows you how weak human beings really are. So I think when you take on the mantle of an animal, it just exudes power, that we don't have.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's I think it's fun to play with too. I mean, it when you can play with a person and change them and make them more powerful. That's the whole point of superheroes. Like
Yeah,
we are always
Yeah.
definitely.
trying to be more powerful than what we really
Yeah, it's
are.
power
So
fantasy. That's what
yeah,
it is. I
exactly.
mean, nothing got me more excited as a kid than watching the Incredible Hulk on TV. And when
That was
Banner
my
get thrown,
favorite.
he get thrown into a gravel pit, and you're like, "Here it comes! Here it comes!" And all the guys are laughing, smoking, and his eyes
Right.
turn. And you're like, "Yeah!" I mean, you get so excited. I mean, I'd be jumping up and down in the living room, my 6 and 7 year old self, and that's kind of what I put into War Party. That
Yeah.
feeling. There's a scene where one of the characters is being flogged to death. He's being whipped. He's chained to a cross, and they're beating the crap out of him. And you're just like, this guy's been through so
Corn
much.
dog.
You're wanting revenge at this point. You're like, I'm over this. I want to see this guy get some comeuppance right now. And when it happens, it's a payoff, and in my opinion, it works. Like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like you're ready for it, and that's my Incredible Hulk, sort of the ode to that. Watching that
Homage to
TV
that.
show
Yeah.
growing up.
Love it. That was my favorite
So
show
is,
when I was little.
Hmm.
Favorite.
is it any type of animal, like even insects, or is it just mammals and
Yeah,
reptiles?
I've played with that. I'm probably gonna keep it in the reptilian, avian, and mammal departments.
Yeah.
Like birds, anything that flies, anything that walks the earth, or anything that is amphibious that comes in and out of the water. I don't know if you're gonna see any king sharks or anything. Like
Yeah,
I feel like I
that's
need to draw
awesome.
the line
That'd be pretty cool
somewhere.
though.
Yeah, well, it would, but there's so many things to explore within just those three categories
Yeah.
that I
There
don't
is.
really know if I really need to stray too far from that. And part of me feels like there needs to be probably some sort of werewolf type creature in every version, just because it's kind of the go-to, it's the entry level beast. What I mean is, there's always people that are like werewolves. So if I throw a
Oh yeah.
werewolf or
Yeah,
some
yeah.
Yes.
kind of dog creature in every single one, and it could be different
Yeah,
types.
werewolves are cool. No matter what you say,
They are,
even if
yeah.
they're overdone, they're cool.
Yeah,
So I don't know if you can ever, get sick of them too much.
and they can look
They were one of
different
my.
too. I mean, look at how different they look in
Yeah,
different
yeah.
movies. So it's
I
all about
always
the
loved
design.
Silver Bullet whenever I grew up. Watching
Oh, with
that movie,
Corey
Silver Bullet.
Haim, yeah, with the
Yeah, man, I
motorized
love that movie.
the fireworks. Yeah, the
Yeah.
book that Stephen King wrote, Cycle of the Werewolf, is really good too. That's based on.
Oh
It's
yeah.
actually based on one of his books.
Yep.
Where,
Well,
but yeah,
I like
that's not the
that. Was
first time
that?
someone said that. What if
I think
Bigfoot
people like
exists?
werewolf too because of dogs. Like dogs are awesome. So
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, dogs are great.
well, and wolves are very sneaky animals. Like they've attacked people, they've eaten people alive. They're dangerous. I mean, wolves are dangerous,
Yeah.
and there's a long history of man against wolf. It's the whole reason why we created domesticated dogs, because
yeah,
we almost had to, because wolves have always been a nuisance since the beginning. I don't know if you're familiar with a story about Black Shuck. He's a
no,
um, he's a black apparently he was a wolf in England in like the early 1800s, I'm thinking, or late 17. I think, I'm not sure the time period. It might be the early 1800s. And there's a church in England that still has black burned claw marks going down the door, the wooden door. This was documented in the newspapers at the time, so it's factual. This is not a legend. This dog, whatever it was, big black wolf creature, came into the church during the service, ran up and down the church pews, and attacked. I think he killed 20 or 30 people. Attacked the priest, ate him, like ripped out his throat. Ran out, knocked over an altar, started a fire in the steeple, ran out, and when he ran out, he clawed the doors and pushed them open and ran out into the night. And they went out hunting for him and could never catch him. And he'd go around the countryside. He attacked several people. He carried off children. But he's called Black Shuck. Look him up. The metal band The Darkness did a metal song called Black Shuck about him. You know.
Oh wow!
And
that's awesome.
He's a werewolf. I mean, if you want to call him that, he was probably a rabid wolf or some sort of, I don't know what he was. They said he was huge. I mean, he was like 5 foot tall from shoulders or head to the ground on all fours. He was 5 feet tall. He was this gigantic wolf.
Oh my gosh!
And there's all sorts of information about him, but I always found that interesting. And of course, Berkowitz talking about a talking dog. I don't know if you remember that, but when the Son of Sam said a dog told him to go shoot people in Manhattan, I'm like, what is a talking dog? That's a werewolf. Right. I mean, so that opened the door for, I've got a story idea here. Berkowitz and a talking dog. Maybe the talking dog is a character that Diane's been following throughout history, who's been up to no good, and they cross paths again when they haven't run into each other for a couple centuries. So this is how I can tie all this stuff together for future campaigns and future books. And I'm building an IP. I'm building a universe. I'm probably not going to do anything else other than War Party for the foreseeable future, because the success of this campaign has kind of given me a mandate that I can go forward with this thing. That's awesome. And I think it's only going to get bigger.
Oh, it's a great idea.
Let me ask you, how many books have you already completed, and how fast are you completing them? So, because I know of
right,
one.
I'll talk to you guys later, but
I hit it right on the head.
Here's what happened with my campaign.
Okay.
I originally had 140 pages between all 6 books. I added an issue 0, which is another 32 pages, and I added, when I hit a certain stretch goal, I hit like a $40,000 stretch goal, I added 20 more pages spread out throughout the books. So now we're looking at 160 pages for 6 issues and another 32-page issue 0 on top of that. Plus, it took me a month to do this, to put this together so that I could deliver it. So that put me behind. But my point is, I'm on issue 5. 4 is coming out. 4 is being lettered right now, and then the colors are being finished on 4. I had to hire another artist to get 0 done because it was just too much work. So Marcio Abreu, he's worked for Marvel and DC for years. I was looking for an artist that was going to give me like, Conan, right? You remember Savage Sword of Conan, because it's black and white. 0 is black and white.
I'm a Conan fan too, man.
So I said, give me your best John Buscema, because that's what I want in this issue. Yes. And it's kind of similar to my style. I'm kind of in the Buscema vein a little bit. So he's working on that simultaneously. Finished 4, working on 5. 4 and 0 are going to be shipped this spring together, and then 5 and 6. But the problem with 5 and 6 is they're both almost 30 pages long each, and I've got big battle scenes. So it's taking a while. And I mean, I'll admit I'm not where I was hoping I would be, but at the same time, the success of the campaign, the backers are very patient, as usually CG backers are, and we're thankful for that. Believe me. And you want to give them the best book. You want to get it done, but you also want to make sure it's right. And the one good thing that I love is getting feedback before I'm done with it. Yeah. This is what's been great about it, is I've gotten feedback from people, mostly positive, some negative, and I've taken all that in and said, okay, how can I apply that to finishing 4 and then finishing 5 and 6. So it's almost given me a chance to hear back from the readers and give them more of what they want, and sort of improve the things that people feel like need improving or whatever. So it's been good to do that rather than just release them all and then go, oh, maybe I should have done that differently and it's too late. Now I got to do it in another series. So that's kind of how it's working out.
Still, it seems like man, that many pages. That's fast.
Well, keep in mind,
You know?
I already had issues 1 and 2 completely finished when I launched. They were done.
Okay.
And then I was finishing up 3 and starting on 4 when I launched a year ago. And I just finished 4, and 4 started off being 22 pages and ended up being 32. They're getting a full 32. I added 10 pages. Well, it's because you can't tell all the story you want to tell. It's like you're like, okay, I can add 10 more pages and get everything I need to say on the book, or I can keep it at 22, save the money, save the time, and I'm not going to be able to say what I want to say. I always err on the side of just add more pages. Say, get it out.
That's what we did.
You have to, but it's expensive. It's time consuming. It does make you late. But I think in the long run, the backers will appreciate it because they're getting everything I wanted to give them in the story and the art.
It's a better product,
Now, Derek said that's what we did, but that's a complete lie.
Well, no, we started off with 22. Remember, I told you 22, and you were like, I can't do it. I know,
but I had like 38.
Yeah, but you said I can't do it in 22. So
22 is hard.
It is. It is really
The
hard.
one thing I will say about floppies that I do like versus doing just like if I had done this as a graphic novel, aside from the fact that everyone would still be waiting for their graphic novel, right? if I did it that way. Aside from the fact that I can send people the issues, it forces you to make it more episodic. In other words, you have to wrap things up. And what I like about that is it helps you contain the story a little bit more and pace it better, I think. Whereas when you go, well, I've got 200 pages, and you kind of take your time with the pacing, and then by the end of the book, you're running out of pages, and you're like, okay, I got to speed this up. This keeps the pace more consistent, in my opinion, and also it makes it more readable. It's less intimidating for somebody to pick up one issue and go, I'm just going to read an issue tonight, and then I'll read issue 4 next week. They can read it at their leisure, and you don't need a bookmark, and it's not this daunting thing like this, for God's sake. I mean, it's cool, but good Lord, right?
Omnibuses. I love them.
I'm nothing against omnibuses. I'll do one day. I'm just saying, when you're first rolling something out, I loved reading floppies. It's like a TV series where you can watch an episode and then watch another one another time. Where I think sometimes with a graphic novel, you're pressured to go through and try to read the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's what I guess that was my thought when I got Kevin to do, I was telling him 22 and he ended up with 27. And he was like, no, I got
I think I ended up with like 36, didn't I?
Well, at first, but then we honed it down to 27. And that was the final,
Let me get
the final page.
I went kicking and screaming with the 27.
I'm trying to get the J.J. Abrams lens flare going on here.
Oh, I see that. You get the twinkle in the eye, almost look like Cable there. No, but we got it down to 27, and then we were like, you know what? We might need to add more. So now we're like, I think we're going to add 2 pages of story plus maybe even a third, right? A third page. So
30 pages.
32 is
30
usually
pages.
30 to 32 is usually the magic number I've found to be able to get everything in there, especially if you want to do like a double page spread, which uses a lot of real estate, obviously, for very little story, or a full page. And I like to do those every now and then, and you can't if you're having to cram everything into 6 and 9 panel pages to get your story in there. So just you add a couple double page spreads in there, you've just added 4 more pages to your book right there. So 32 seems to work well. It just takes a long time. Those extra 10 pages make a difference. They really do. So, but it'll get done. I mean, I'm working on it every day, but I'm also a full-time professor at an art school, so this is not my full-time job. I mean, this is my side hustle. So, not saying that's an excuse, but I'm just saying, if I were doing this full-time, obviously I'd be able to get it done faster.
Yeah.
Well,
that's really cool.
Some people do it full-time, so.
Well, I mean, I can't speak for their situation, but everybody's situation
Sure.
is different. But it also has to do with the style of art and how slow or fast you are, and
Yeah.
sometimes I can take a long time to get something done or struggle with a layout, and then other times a page will go faster than I expected. So it all
Yeah.
kind of evens out. But when you're doing epic things like this, where you have armies and you've got soldiers with uniforms
Yeah.
carrying muskets and flags, I mean, that stuff takes a long time to draw.
It
You
is.
gotta
It
you gotta
is
have
a
the
lot.
research. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So that's why superheroes did so well for so long, because it's a lot faster to draw a guy in a skin tight uniform with muscles
Yeah.
and a cape flying around than it is to draw armies and war scenes and all that other stuff.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Those
we'll eventually
aren't as
get there, but
interesting.
I feel like that's definitely down the road for us.
Yeah. Well, I
Since
mean, the
it's
army thing
present.
is definitely something we're kind of getting into already. Even in the
Yeah,
first issue, we had quite a
totally.
few people to draw. Um, and even on our, we're doing 3 covers for our book, and wow, that made me really think about covers, because that was a lot of work. And you know, we did a team cover, and then we're doing a wraparound cover for it. And that wraparound, it's basically 2 pages you're doing for the cover,
Right.
and it was a lot of effort for me. It was a pretty daunting task, I gotta say. So
Wraparounds are tough because you have to, like, this is a wraparound, and you have to, obviously, you got to leave space for the title and everything up
yeah,
top, but you also have to be conscious of where the spine is, so that
Mhm.
yeah,
you try to
yeah. Put
avoid
details
putting
there. Yeah,
important art in the spine, and then,
right.
like, in this shot, I had all these soldiers over here. And I actually inked
Looks
this on
great.
how to draw comics on Clayton's stream.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But man, it took a while. But I love wraparounds, and that's another reason why I love floppies. You can't do this really with a perfect bound book. You can't flatten it out.
Yeah.
And if you have a like this double page spread, right? Where is it?
Yeah, you don't see deeply into the spine, right? Yeah, you have to really open it up to be able to
See,
see
I can
that.
flatten this out all the way, and you got that double page spread.
That's nice. Uh, I think I was watching you. Were you coloring that, or were you inking it
I was inking
on
it.
screen?
I don't do the coloring. My colorist
Okay.
is Jay Brown. He does he
Okay.
does he does GI Joe for IDW.
I was the only
Oh,
one in the stream watching you ink that night, I think. And you and I were talking quite a bit on that. So
Oh,
that was
you
a lot of
were,
fun.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
my draw streams. I guess I need a co-host, because my draw streams don't. I usually only have like 4 or 5 people in there. It's boring to watch somebody draw and there's no conversation happening.
Yeah,
So
I like
if I
conversation
ever
as well.
if I ever do another one of those, I need to get someone in there. Mo, what are you saying over here?
Yeah, I have to maintain the chat, slang rocks, and come up with iconic IPs, all while meeting my responsibilities as a full-time player.
I tell Mo over and over again, one of my bucket lists is one day I need to meet him in person.
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
to
yeah.
know. I want to know
It'd
who
be
this
great.
mystery man, Mo Biggs, is,
Yeah, where is
because
he? He'll never
yeah,
dox himself.
he's
So.
not going to look like what we think he looks like. Who God knows, he could be a woman. I don't know, but
Oh my
but
gosh.
I'm
anyone
pretty
with
sure he's a group of people. Like there's a
anyone,
number.
I don't know, anyone with that sense of humor, I need to meet the guy, because I
Yeah,
just hope if we do
he's
a For
great.
the Fans Fest, what they need to do is they need to set up a Meet Mo Biggs booth that's enclosed.
Heck yeah,
And
man.
listen, Mo, you can make a lot of money. This is how you could fund
It's true.
AR-15, and charge admission for people to go inside there. They have to leave their phones outside. They can't take pictures.
No
Go
pics.
inside there and get Mo's autograph and meet Mo Biggs.
And
And
it'll still remain myth and legend because nobody's
yes,
allowed to share.
no cameras,
Sign
right?
non-disclose agreements and
Yes,
everything.
yes, and I'm telling you, Mo, you would clean up. People would be lined up to meet Mo Biggs. It needs
That's
to
awesome.
happen. All right.
Too fun. That'd be great. Oh my gosh. Well, Kevin, did you want to get into that pick that you gave me at all, or do you want to move on?
I thought it
pick
was
up-
interesting. I mean, you could put it up, but I mean, I just thought it was interesting to talk about.
Okay.
When you
We'll
look
share it
like
for a few minutes.
America, so many states have different monsters or myths in them.
Yeah.
Of course, with you kind of doing mythology, are you going to go into any of the myths like Bigfoot and things like that? Or?
It's funny you mentioned that because years ago I tried to crowdfund a card game called Cryptids, and I painted over 100 cryptids from all over the world on these little cards. I did full digital paintings of all of them. The game, as you know, games are hard to get funded. It didn't get funded, so I ended up just throwing all those images that I had painted, like the Mothman and all these things, Bigfoot and Nessie and all that. I threw some of them up on DeviantArt. A year later, the producers at Prometheus Entertainment, that produces Ancient Aliens, the TV series,
Okay.
Yeah.
they were doing a series called In Search of Monsters and the Unexplained. They were doing a search online for chupacabras, and my chupacabra painting popped up, and they contacted me, and they said they wanted to license the painting for use in their show. And I said, okay, well, by the way, I have about 100 other cryptids I painted. Do you want me to throw them in a folder in Dropbox, and you can just pick the ones you want? You can license as many as you want from me. And it's like, sure. So I put all of these creatures. They licensed like 30 or 40 of them from me.
Oh my gosh.
It was a massive payday for art that I had created for a game that did not get funded. But because I put it out there online, it found a life somewhere else. So it was pretty cool.
That is cool.
How much would they give you, like for one? How much would you make just for one?
I think it was like, I'm thinking it was like 250, per illustration. I pulled in like $4 or $5 grand. It was
That is
it was
awesome.
it
That's
was
cool,
nice.
man. That's
Yeah,
really
it
cool.
was. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I'm definitely interested in that. But like I said, it needs to be something that actually lived, like exists. So unless, I mean, I guess I could say these things existed because I'm doing whatever I want.
Right.
But
I don't know. It might be a stretch to have a were chupacabra.
well, like,
yeah,
I mean, they have to be been in a zoo or like as you talked about dinosaurs. So anything
Right.
that we actually have bones.
Correct. Anything that still
Yeah.
has some sort of physical,
Reality.
tangible, that she can make a pelt out of, that you can put on,
Okay.
so that she can activate it. It has to merge with your your body.
So,
so
for
to speak.
instance, a person would actually have to have Bigfoot stuff to give her.
Correct. Yeah, if you
A
wanted to
pelt,
wear a
yeah.
Bigfoot, you'd have to have a dead Bigfoot somewhere. Now, I did somebody
Dang.
say, "What if somebody puts on human skin?" I was like, "Ooh, there's an idea."
Pretty
And you have some
interesting.
kind of like messed up human hybrid off. I don't know. Like maybe it's
Well,
like an
can she do the
abomination.
opposite? Can she turn an animal into a human?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's you're getting weird on me here, guys. I've only got 6 issues. Okay.
Hey, there's always the future. This is an IP.
Yeah,
we're
let's
going.
have this conversation in 10 years.
I'm just thinking. I mean, people
That's
love
awesome.
their pets. So if you could get
Yeah,
your
they
pets
do.
to talk to you, I think a lot of people would be like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty freaking cool."
Yeah, a were Shih Tzu.
Hey, we got Michael Bancroft here.
Oh,
Congrats
thanks.
on the distribution deal.
Thanks.
Murph.
Yes, Liberty.
really cool.
Liberty's carrying the book. They're going to be distributing it in bookstores. My backers will get their books before that happens. Trust me. I'm not going to pull a
Nice.
red rooster here.
That is great.
But
Fantastic.
but yeah, hang on.
So I didn't hear about that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I used to be distributed by Diamond because I've been publishing comics since I was 17, since '92.
Oh, wow.
So I actually launched my first comic series, Black and White series, the same time Image launched. It was when the comic boom was happening, and Diamond's distributed all my books throughout the years, other than this one.
Oh, okay.
It's like crickets. I don't know what's going on with them right now, but I have no clue what they're thinking. Maybe they're getting ready to shut down. I don't know. But
Yeah,
this is the
it's
first time. This is the first time I've never gotten a response from Diamond. It's never happened before.
Wow.
So fortunately, there's smaller distributors like Liberty out there that are trying to fill the gap and get people's books out there.
It does feel like Diamond's kind of just taking a big fat nosedive, right? I mean,
Well,
I
they
don't know
have.
what they're
what's
doing
happening.
because they lost DC, And I
Yeah.
think they just lose Marvel. All they
Yeah.
have
I thought
left
so.
are the independents, Image, Dark
Right,
Horse, and the
right.
rest of us. You think they'd be clamoring to build up inventory and start promoting the smaller books, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the whole reason though why I put
Well,
ISBN numbers on these, because these will ring up at the cover price. So these are retail ready. The ones the backers get are
okay.
also retail ready. The difference is the backers
That's
get theirs
awesome.
signed and the retailers don't.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know really what would be the issue with that, but it seems like they would, want to go towards the people who are wanting to use them. But you
Well,
would
I
think
think
that
it's like
about
you said,
Marvel
they
too,
took a
right? They don't do
nosedive.
that.
They're probably. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was done.
Well, I think because they took a nosedive, probably they're just trying to cut cost rather than
Could be.
try to take anything else on, like let people go.
Yeah, but the thing about the way Diamond works is there is no cost. You solicit your book in their previews catalog, and whatever orders come in, that's what you ship to Diamond. So Diamond's really not taking a risk
Okay.
at all. You pay the shipping, you fulfill the orders, they get paid first, and you don't get paid for another 30 days, the publisher.
But don't they actually do the actual shipping, or is it like through?
Well, no,
US
you
mail or
ship
UPS?
to their distribution centers, and then they ship out from there. So yes, there is some shipping costs involved. But my
Yeah.
point is, if a book doesn't hit a certain threshold of orders, that you cancel the book, you don't ship it. They don't ship it anyways. So
Okay.
it's the one who
So they don't have
always,
any risk, is what you're saying.
correct. The one who shares the most risk is the retailer, because if they can't sell it, they're
Yeah.
stuck with it. The one who
Yeah.
shares the second most risk is the publisher, because we're putting out the money to begin with to release it. And the one who shares the least risk is the distributor.
Right.
So that's
Okay, so
interesting.
Mo says I would trust Liberty for distribution. Wilford
Liberty
Brimley trusted them to
It's
distribute
diabetes.
his diabetes medication. That's good enough for me.
A little trivia. Do you know Wilford Brimley actually appeared in a Star Wars movie?
Did he? Because I'm a Star Wars fan. No, I did not know that.
Which one?
It was a TV movie. It was the Battle for Endor. It was the second Ewoks movie on TV.
Okay.
Wilford Brimley
No
was
wonder I
actually
didn't know,
in
because
that.
I never loved those.
Yeah, they weren't very good. But I mean, when I
Right.
was a kid, I would take whatever Star Wars I could get. At that age, I was like, it's Star Wars. I don't care. I want it. But yeah, and it's kind of like when people say, "Did you know that B. Arthur was in Star Wars?" And most people are like, "When was B. Arthur in Star Wars?"
Yeah.
She was in the
It was
Christmas
the
special,
holidays.
right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
holidays.
yeah.
Oh God.
I didn't know that.
Ewok Adventure's the first one, and then
Yeah.
Battle for Endor is the second one. That's the one
Right.
Brimley's in. Yeah.
So that wasn't the TV show; it was a TV movie. I thought
They
that
were
was
It was a
both.
movie.
No, they were
It was like a
TV
special.
movies. You can
Yeah.
get them on DVD. I've got them somewhere, but they came out like in '83. They came out like a year or two after Jedi, so it was like '83 or
Jedi, yeah.
'84. It was somewhere around there.
So was there also a TV show, or no? It was just
No.
those.
The first TV show was Droids, the cartoon with
Right.
C-3PO, and that was the first one. And then
And I think
did
the
Clone
one
Wars
for
and stuff.
Endor didn't it like focus on kids? It focused on like
Both of them did. The lead characters,
kids,
they were made
yeah.
for younger audience.
Yeah,
and
I
of course,
thought the bears
Ewoks.
was a big part of it. The little bears.
Well, the Ewoks were. Yeah, Wicket was in it. Wicket learned to speak English.
Oh
Or no.
my gosh.
Yeah, and what's weird is Endor chronologically is supposed to happen before Jedi, and people are like, okay, if Wicket could speak English in the Endor movie, why wasn't he speaking English to Leia in Jedi? So,
Oh, Lucas had it figured out all the time, right? He had it figured out the whole time. It's exactly the way it is.
yes, Mo is correct. The first one's called Caravan of Courage.
Oh,
That is
okay,
correct.
I'll
And the
put that
second
back
one's
on.
Battle. Yeah, so they're both Ewok Adventure. You're right, Mo.
Okay.
As always, Mo Biggs, he is incapable of error.
Yeah, did you guys hear Arrogant Ape's voicing of C-3PO?
No.
Oh my gosh, it is excellent. They did it on
Check that out.
On the Comic Skater show. Good stuff, show. Oh man, it was so good. Arrogant Ape sounded just like him. He did a great impression of it, and it was fantastic. So
I'll check it out.
too good. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, so we're running over time just a little bit. Not sure how long we
We
want to go
usually
here.
do.
But yeah,
Well, we got
but
on
I didn't know
Star
how long we
Wars.
wanted to come. Yeah, we did.
Star Wars will always put you over time. So Wilford Brimley will put you over time every time.
Right.
The diabetes discussions.
Diabetes. So I was going to share something with everybody. We didn't share anything today for our comic, but I was going to share something with everyone while we got it. This is our new logo for the book. It's not finished. It's not colored yet. It's just got some shadow and some depth. This is going to be the finished logo.
What's
design.
the logo? The black one, is that the logo for the story, like part of the title?
Yeah. So you mean the bird?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Yeah, that is going to be it's almost like a family crest on our main hero.
That's cool. Who did that? Did you do that?
I did, yeah.
That's
I
nice,
did that.
man.
Thank you.
Really, really nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be on he's got like a wrestling belt. I always call them wrestling belts because that's what they look like. But
Well,
it's
a big
his,
belt.
yeah, it's a big belt like that. And that's the crest on his belt that he wears out in everywhere he goes. And so it's a part of where he comes from and his family history. So yeah, we had to incorporate it into the logo somehow.
What time period? What time period would that? What are we talking? Like 5,000 BC or 4,000? When would that be? Not that far back.
Yeah, it's before the flood, so
It could be that far back. I don't know. When do they chronologically sort of? Have they agreed on what that time period would it be?
Oh, geez, I don't even know.
Oh, before the flood?
Yeah, like where you'd be.
I don't think they agree on it, to be honest.
Because it's pre-Egypt.
Because of no, can't they actually tell? Just especially even America, isn't there like part of the mountains from Canada that came down to like America and things like that? I think there is an actual date that they can, especially because you have all these ancient cultures, especially Asia, that they
Yeah, but
have.
I think they also have kind of put off the flood, in another time period too, because of course they do the carbon dating and then it throws it off.
Right. Well, I know they estimate like 10,000 BC
Yes.
is like caveman era. So
Right.
I'm thinking that would probably be 6 or 7 or 5 or somewhere around there. I don't know.
Sure.
Depending. It's hard. Are you going to say that in there, or are you just kind of leave that open-ended?
Oh, it's open ended because like how our people do time isn't the same thing as
Gotcha.
we do, like with ages. So
Right.
Well, and we also wanted to play with the fact that everybody thinks that the further back you go, the less technology they had.
Right, right.
And we kind of want to play with the fact that they had more than we ever knew.
Right.
And
well, even
so,
Rome is proof of that. I mean, you compare
Yeah.
Rome to medieval Europe, and
Yeah.
Rome was way more advanced than medieval Europe.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
So there are going to be things that they had that maybe even unexplainable things that are maybe in the fantastic area, I guess.
I like to play with the things that the pyramids have. I think there's just a bunch of cool stuff that they kind of have pictogram wise of stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
we're not. There is going to be some supernatural, and I guess some magic. But when there is stuff, I always want there to be a cost. Like Harry Potter, if there was magic, there was never a cost. Like you could just do it. I kind of want to stay more Lord of the Rings. That when it happens, there's usually some cost or something from it. Like Gandalf just wasn't doing magic every 5 seconds.
Yeah, I've always found that interesting in Lord of the Rings, how Gandalf's magic was so sparse, and it almost felt like it was a special thing when it happened.
Yeah.
Like when he faces the Balrog and the sword just hits that force field. When you see that in the movie, you're like, wow, like there it is. And you haven't really seen anything like that up until that point. And what do you do? Make a flashlight before that?
Right.
Like walk around. Wow, Gandalf, good job.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You know what? I never thought about that, but you're right. Yeah, he really
Yeah.
did.
That's true.
But it
Well,
shows
the
you
fireworks.
if he'd been shooting fireballs the whole time in the movie up to that point, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But man,
Right.
when that happens in the movie, you're like, you really get a glimpse into his power at that point.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even Frodo and the rest of them, they're like and Aragorn, they're looking at it like, wow, look at what this guy can do.
Well,
Yeah, it's
my
amazing.
favorite scene with him is in the third one where he's riding the horse to save the the last few
The
guys
sun comes up.
from the Nazgul, and he just makes light to
Yeah.
hit them so they stop so
Right.
he can save the rest of I love that scene. I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
very
so,
cool.
Yeah.
Those films were so well done.
They are.
Oh man. Yeah.
And I think that's subtlety too, but subtly use that magic and it is more powerful. It's kind of like the less you know, the more intrigued you are.
It also makes it feel a little more grounded in reality.
Yeah.
For whatever
Yes.
reason, like it feels like, was this an ancient
B-Rose.
thing that was lost? Hey, B-Rose,
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah, I really
coming.
like. There less is. It's the whole less is more thing.
It is.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's what I mean.
It's the
It's,
psycho principle in the shower with the knife, and you don't really
Yep.
see anything, and yet you feel that scene is just as visceral now as it ever was.
Oh yeah, it's why Boba Fett was so popular. Why Wolverine was so popular. It's perfect for that. So,
Well,
one of the things that we talked about was the technology. Was when we're talking pyramids, people always question, how they cut the pyramids, how they stack the pyramids, how they make those shapes. And it was very mathematical.
Wait,
very
pyramid
smart.
schemes? What?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, but
But isn't CG a pyramid scheme? Or aren't you
I think
guys
so.
just giving me money and I'm giving you money? And, okay.
I wish, yes.
I'm still waiting on that John Malin money.
Oh man, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. We'd all be benefiting, right? We'd all be. Jeez. Yeah, no, but we've done a few other streams where we've actually looked at some of the some ancient what would you call it, structures that were made that you can't explain how they're made. The stone is in such odd shape and they fit together like a puzzle almost, but there's no gap. They made those stones so perfect that they have no gaps. They have
No
and
mortar.
they shouldn't be able to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it wasn't mortar. It wasn't anything like. It's almost like they melted the rock to fit into whatever they wanted it to fit.
Well,
into.
that was the laser beams from the spaceships.
Right. We're not quite going to that level, but yes.
It's the War of the Worlds, right? No, well, it's what's interesting too is how all of those Egyptian symbols like Isis and all the, the eye and everything, how that stuff is still just as prevalent today in pop culture
Yes.
and on our money and everything else as it was then. There's obviously some, whatever you want to call it. There's something to it. Let's put it that way.
And it feels nefarious, and I think that's held on to a mythology.
Nefarious. See in the chat? No. Okay.
I don't see nefarious, but he was there in another chat earlier. But yeah,
Well,
I
the
think that makes it
Egyptian
intriguing
eye
for everybody.
is actually what's that thing called? The that's in nature all the time, like with flowers. I can't think of what it's called. A figure. Oh gosh.
Fibonacci.
Yes, thank you. Oh my God, I couldn't
That's
get
an
that out of my
Indian.
head.
Yeah, it's the Indian Fibonacci. What do they call that? Curve? Is that what it is? Fibonacci curve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what that eye is. So they understood
Yeah,
that.
the swirl.
I mean,
yeah.
actually, you can go down a deep dive, like even with they understood with dreams with the pineal gland in our brain, and like it's crazy the stuff the ancient world knew. Like, I mean,
yeah, well, it's all it's all occult knowledge or whatever. Hidden.
Yeah.
Occult just means hidden. You can put it all in the same category. I mean, even the Bible. I mean, all these mysteries you can lump them into sort of the occult. And I kind of grew up, because I grew up in church. I grew up like, the occult. That's satanic. And as I grew older, did more research. I was like, well, no, that's not really what it is. It's the occult is just things that we don't understand, mysteries. there's a lot of occult in the Old Testament, especially. I mean, it's rampant with, and it's not something to sort of shy away from. If anything, I think it's a great source for storytelling. Like
Right.
anything
Oh
else.
yeah.
Yes. And that was fertile for us to jump into. That's why we're doing it. It's gonna be fun to
Well,
Yeah,
play
it
with
sounds
that.
I mean,
cool.
when you think of too, like the show Supernatural's had like 15 seasons.
Mm.
Like, you know how many stories have come out of things like that? Like even vampires are very like kind of in that category too, with
Oh yeah.
blood and everything. The whole purpose with that, and so
Well,
yeah, there's tons of stuff.
the importance of blood is a theme that goes throughout most cultures.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Christianity is all about blood. Jesus'
Yep.
blood, or you all of these things of the vampire's obsession with sucking your essence out of your body. What
Yeah.
I'm doing with War Party with Diane's blood. Blood is it's the life essence of what we are. So, I think it's kind of like the whole thing about like virginity, for example, like with like they talk about throwing the virgins in the volcano, right? Like how many times have we heard that? I need a virgin.
Oh
I
yeah.
need 10. Well, there's a
Right.
reason why
Blood sacrifice. Yeah.
that goes throughout history. It's that purity factor that you have to take something pure and then defile it or destroy it or sacrifice it to pay some sort of debt or appease some sort of entity. That goes throughout all sorts of myths and legends. And I try to explore that as well, obviously, because Diane cannot have sex. If she gives up her virginity, she's going to lose. They tell her she will lose her power if she does that. So
Interesting.
that puts her in difficult situations because if she falls in love with someone, she has to pull away from them to protect her power because that purity of who she is, if that's lost, it weakens her. And I pulled that from myth and legend, like
Yeah.
going back to why do they need to throw a virgin in the volcano? Why
Right,
can't they
right.
throw the town hoe in the volcano?
Yeah.
Because there's no purity. There's no purity there, right? So, or why like Christianity or Judaism? Why did they have to Why did they have to bring a spotless lamb? Why did it have to be spotless, the best lamb
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
altar? Why does Jesus have
Most
to
pure.
go to the cross or whatever? Those are all purity. It's purity
Yeah.
sacrifice is what it is. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
even
really
that-
it's really interesting.
Isn't even the heifer thing even more difficult than a spotless lamb? Like a red heifer, like it has to be. There's something like that in the Bible, isn't there?
Yeah, that's a Jewish prophecy that's supposed to be fulfilled according to, I don't know where it is in the Old Testament, maybe Isaiah or something, but it talks about like when the heifer is born or whatever. That's the beginning of the final age or whatever. When the temple's going to be rebuilt and all that. Of course,
Okay.
you overlap. I think if you overlap that with Christianity, then if the temple's rebuilt, what does that mean? Antichrist, he's coming. So I mean, it's those things all overlap. But yeah, I'm not sure if it might be in the Apocrypha. It may not be in the Old Testament. I'm not sure. I'm not a biblical scholar, so I don't know for sure. So don't quote me on
Right.
that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. It is an old Jewish prophecy.
Very nice.
Buddhism. There's plenty.
Buddhism.
Peter,
You got a lot of.
there's plenty of Buddhism
Buddhism.
in War Party.
Oh yeah.
There's
I
some
saw
nice
that.
there's some nice Buddhism right
Nice
there.
booty there.
And where's the other?
Yeah,
Where's
there
the other?
again, like even
Here's the other Buddhism right there.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of nice. So yeah, she's a beautiful woman. So
well,
She's
even in the
playing with
Bible,
fire.
like you were just talking about how animals are so important. Like animals have always been a part of pretty much everything, right? Every
Yeah.
religion, every culture.
worshipped, sacrificed, whatever, revered,
Right.
I revere my little Jatese. She's adorable.
Yeah.
She's around here somewhere. Is she behind me? No, she's not in here. a Japanese is actually a Maltese Japanese Chin mix. It's one of those
Oh, okay.
fufu hybrid dogs.
Fufu
But
hybrids.
she's
I
running
have
around
one of
here
those.
somewhere. Yeah.
Kind
I
of a
also have a
fufu hybrid.
rescue. We our conscience got the best of us. We said if we're gonna buy a fufu dog, we also need to rescue one. So we also rescued a poodle Shih Tzu mix. He's called
Oh wow,
Geronimo.
Nice.
He's real cute. So
wow.
love the
I have a
dogs.
full size poodle.
Oh wow,
So
So
standard.
since
yeah,
Nice.
standard poodle. Yep,
Cool.
big.
Smart dogs. Smart,
They are
very smart
smart.
dogs.
Smart, yes. Too smart for his own good. That's for sure.
since you have the whole world of animals, how do you decide which one you want to use? Like, you ever go to the zoo and just be like, man, that was just awesome.
Yeah, well, for this one, I kind of let the story guide that. Like, prime example, for this one, I was trying to sort of cover my bases. You know, I wanted a reptile, I wanted a werewolf, I wanted something that could fly, I wanted, sort of
Yeah.
the go-tos. As I go further on with other campaigns and other storylines, I can get a little more creative. Like I said, the were-pigeon, it's a chance for comedy. I mean, he's a Broadway performer, he lives in New York. Pigeons are everywhere in New York.
They
And
are.
he's embarrassed when he finds out that's his totem. He's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, I really, the rats, the
awesome.
flying rats of New York City that poop on everything. I mean, but that's so I kind of let the story determine that, or the personality of the character determine that more than, oh, I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to, that kind of seems to work better that way because, like, the dude that becomes the were-gator. What do we think of when we think of anything reptilian? We think of something kind of sleazy. We think of something that's kind of dishonest. We think of something that's kind of got
Hmm.
an edge to them. Well, that guy was sentenced to death when they met him. He was he was locked up in a fort, and they were going to hang him because he had an affair with the commander's wife.
Oh,
So he's
okay.
he's kind of a philanderer, and he brags about it, and he's shifty-eyed, and he's kind of one of those guys where you're like, can I really trust him? I'm really sure this guy's a good guy. So it just made sense that, well, he'll be the reptile, he'll be the gator, he'll be the one slithering around the water and popping out and attacking, and it just went with his personality. And of course, the older brother who becomes the bear, he's a big bear of a man, but he's a gentle giant kind of guy. He's also devoutly religious, and he's so religious that he refuses to do this at first. Like,
Oh,
he tells his brother, like, this is pagan magic. We're gonna lose our souls if we do this. We're going to hell if we do this. And they're all trying to convince him, no, just trust her. And, like, one guy, the lizard dude, by the way, he pulls out the Bible, and he's like trying to find evidence of, like, someone turning into a beast in the Bible, and he goes back to Nebuchadnezzar. There's a
Yeah.
story of Nebuchadnezzar
right.
when he lost his
Yes.
mind and he grew
Yes.
hair and he became like a werewolf and he's
Becomes a
running
beast.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Yes.
like, it's right here. And then he finds another scripture where God called these bears out of the woods to attack these kids that were messing with Elijah. These
That's
kids were
awesome.
mocking Elijah. And he's like, see, the Lord used, he's
Yeah.
manipulating him. He's like, the Lord
Wow.
used these animals. And of course, the guy won't yield. But my point is his personality. I was like, of course he'd be the bear. Of course he'll turn into the big, incredible Hulk, who's the most powerful one. But in his heart, he's actually the gentlest of all the guys there. So
That's cool.
I try to mix it that way to make it more interesting.
Yeah, I like that. So Crazy Matt said, "Is she based on someone? And can you hook me up?"
Um, all I can say, she's based on my ideal woman. So I can't hook you up with my brain. I'm sorry about that. But I'm sure she,
Good
of
thing
course,
too.
yeah, she's one thing we don't see enough of in female characters, strong female characters, is we don't see the nurturing or compassion.
Yeah.
Everybody writing female characters today writes them as if they're men. They just
Right.
write a man
Yep.
and they put a female's name on it and they cast a woman and she acts like a bitch the whole time. And
Yeah.
you're like, and if it was a guy, it'd be a bitch, right? Like, it
Yeah.
would not be someone you would like. And yet, to me, what makes her strong is her compassion.
Right.
Everything
Right.
she does is
I
out
agree
of
with that.
concern and consideration for everyone else. She's very unselfish.
I like
And
that.
that makes her endearing to the reader, and it makes her strong. So not only is she sexy and has a lot of power, but she's gentle. and she's nurturing. Like when someone's hurt, or when James, the lead character, he's near death, and she's comforting him, and she's nursing him and bringing him back to health, and all. This is the stuff and I can speak, I think, for most men. This is the stuff that we admire in women. Like this is the stuff that makes us love women, and that is absent from a lot of what's being offered out there as far as our female heroes. And so I'm trying to bring that back with her, and like that's why I love Aliens, the movie Aliens. That whole movie is Ripley trying to save her new surrogate or adopted daughter. The whole movie is her trying to save Newt because she lost her daughter.
Yeah.
And that's what makes that character work. And then when she's in there with the guns and the grenades and tearing up the Queen's lair, you're like, you buy it. Like you're like, yes. I don't doubt this for 1 second that she could do this, because she's gonna get that girl back.
Mama Bear's a real thing,
man.
man.
You out of your seat when she goes, "Get away from her, you bitch!" And then
Wow. Yes.
Great
it's awesome.
Scene.
I mean, Mama Bears, man. Mama Bears come out, and my wife is very much like that, and that is definitely something.
It's interesting too. Like, if you've ever seen The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, great movie.
There's a scene where the woman that he's living with, she is dressing him.
Putting the armor on him.
Yeah, and it's not sexual, but it feels very like romantic.
It's
and
very
powerful.
Intimate. It's more intimate.
Thank you.
Yeah. But it should be, because it's very much a individual thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's his honor. It's honor to that guy, not to anybody else.
Well, one of the scenes, and I love this as a writer, because when you make this happen as a writer, it's very rewarding. There's a scene where the lead character is being flogged to death, and he's reached a point where he's so in so much pain and so exhausted that he's just ready to die. And he's basically telling her, "Look, you've got to find my daughter. I can't do this anymore." And da-da-da. And she tells him, no, you're gonna find her, and she basically talks him off the ledge, and to me, like, and there's obviously a Christ Mary thing sort of like parallel here.
Sure.
I try to put some of that symbolism in there, but it's very. I just love. See, she's giving him the drink, and they're just laughing because they think, oh, it's just this, this naive pagan witch basically doing her whole ritual. Little do they know what's about to come next.
That's awesome.
And how he's going to get out of it. But the point of that scene is, to me, that type of stuff is what makes the character strong.
Yeah.
It's not.
I agree with you on
It's Pocahontas walking into the fort, bringing the food to the starving British, when everyone else is scared of them. I mean, that's really happened.
Yes.
And to me, that's way more dramatically impactful than, her charging in there, turning into a beast and just killing everybody and then letting them go, which is how they would write in a movie. She'd go in there and just wipe out all the guys herself, and then, and be the big tough warrior, and, and carry him away, carry him like this, like a baby, or something. But instead, she goes in gently and does everything with grace and compassion, and then quietly walks away, and then the things transpire as they're going to transpire. And he's allowed to fight for his daughter in that situation. So, great. When that can happen in writing, that's when I feel it. When I'm like, yes, this is why I do comics. This is why I tell stories. And if the reader gets that, mission accomplished,
Yeah, I can't wait to read your story. You're getting me sold, man.
Thanks.
I need to do it.
Do you try to stay away from anything that's similar, or to you it's always just if it works, or you like for instance, like Mortal Kombat has the whole is it animality or
animism?
And they even made that very like Native American.
Yeah, animism. No, I mean, the thing is, I've watched so much stuff that's similar my whole life that it's impossible to stay away from it. There's a lot of similarities to Last of the Mohicans in this, like in terms of story structure, and forts and things that happen. and
Yeah,
the Howling, like the
Yeah,
transformations of the old
love that
movies that I used
stuff.
to like.
yeah,
So I don't think it's I think it's good to put the things in there that you were inspired by. Just
Yes,
do it
yes,
in a way that's new and fresh, and that's your story. And as if you can do that, because everything's redone anyways. I mean,
right,
these
that's
days,
true. Yeah,
the audience likes that familiarity to some degree. But if you can give it to them in a way that feels fresh, they get those same emotions and feelings they got when they saw it before, but it's new now and it doesn't feel
yeah,
contrived or like a ripoff.
yep. You're putting your
And
spin on it. Definitely, you're out of
yes,
your personality.
yes, and
Did you ever
it's
watch a
just
show called Manimal?
yes, I remember that show.
I just thought about
the
Oh
that
my
and I
name
went,
gosh,
oh
sounds
man.
familiar, but I'm not
yes,
picturing anything.
It
that's
was
like
back in the
84,
80s.
yeah,
Yep,
84
yep,
somewhere around
early
there.
80s.
Yeah,
And it was this guy, he could change into a couple different animals. It wasn't very much. He usually did like what was it, like a black panther or something.
hmm,
And
yeah, I
then
remember that.
maybe one other thing, but it was like he always was that panther. And it was cool, man. It was for a short, I think it was a short lived show, but
There was
it just
also
made
a
me think of
show.
that.
There was also a show in the late '80s called Werewolf, and it was kind of like Hulk. It was a guy
Oh,
who'd been
okay.
cursed to become a werewolf, and he was constantly running from town to town, being chased, just like the Hulk. But the show never really caught on. I think it only had one season, and they canceled it. And I think the reason
Okay.
why it didn't was because Hulk could be a good guy, and help people,
Yeah,
but
yes.
a werewolf, even though in my book the werewolf's a good guy, it was hard in a modern setting to make a werewolf the hero. It was like such an anti-hero that it just didn't work.
Yeah,
It was super
that
cheap for
makes
today's
sense.
standards.
I,
What was super
is
cheap?
he? Are you talking Crazy Matt? Are you talking about the show that they made? I wonder what you're.
What,
Yeah, we
Manimal?
wonder what you're talking about. Help us understand. So, yeah, man. Kevin, do you have any other points you want to cover? Or are we good?
Yeah, so because of your universe, is there anybody in other universes that would be tied to yours, like Aslan or Michael Jackson's Thriller, or what was the other person I was thinking of? Now I forgot. But would you ever do something like that, even as funny or anything like that, or no?
What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. What you mean, like Michael Jackson's Thriller? I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I don't know what
Wait,
you're
what do you mean?
asking either.
Well, because you were talking about using real people as like the Son of Sam. So would you ever?
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Michael Jackson really isn't real, but it's an iconic thing that he could turn.
Oh, I see what
Um,
you're saying. I see what you're. Well, I see what you're saying. I kind of I like the way like Frank Miller did it, like when he did Dark Knight, and he kind of put didn't he have like Reagan in there at one point, or like he
Yeah,
had some people in
yeah,
there, and then like Watchmen had Nixon and
yeah,
all that
yep,
stuff. So
yeah.
no, I'm not opposed to. Like I said, I'm trying to keep the world exactly as we know it. Nothing really changes in the grand scheme. There's no Back to the Future at work here, where like
yeah,
everything went crazy. The changes she's making are localized. In other
yeah,
words, they're only changing this small circle of people's lives, but they're not necessarily spilling out into the rest of the events of the world. Uh,
Okay.
with the exception of there could be some things that would have gone much more wrong than the world we live in now that she did change. In other
okay.
words, the world we live in now is partly because there were
They
things
stay.
she
Yeah,
did that changed the
Oh,
course of things. I could do
sure.
it like that because the stakes do get higher in certain books, and especially if I end, when we end up, if I we end up doing the Sovereign Wolf sort of a war party crossover that me and Eddie have been talking about, the stakes will be higher in that book, and they have to be because you've got his team, my team, coming together, and the stakes really going to have to be high on that one to make it sort of balance out. Because his are much more superhero type shapeshifters, whereas mine is more from the horror vein, I guess you'd call it. Uh, his have uniforms. I don't know if either of you are Sovereign Wolf backers, but his have more of a like I said, like a superhero kind of vibe to it.
yeah.
So that's
I
going to be
see
an
what you're saying.
interesting sort of overlap in that if we end up doing it. I mean, we've talked about it and we have plans to do it, but I don't want to elaborate on it any more than that
Like that.
until things are finalized. And of course, with me behind on this one, I'm like, Eddie, maybe another year before we can
Right.
do that.
Great
You know,
idea, man. It's
yeah,
a great
but
idea.
no, I mean, I'm open to anything that works for the story. You know, there's some humor in this. I mean, there is some humor in there, not a lot, but I try to get lighten things up every now and then. And the guys have to kind of laugh at their own situation to some degree. It's like, it's funny, right? I mean, you turn into a freaking man gator, and you're a wisecracker, guy anyway who talks trash all the time. You're still gonna do that as the gator to some
Oh
degree.
yeah.
Yeah, So like, there's a scene where he pops out of the water and surprises the British, and he's got one of them by the legs, and he says, "Greetings, lobcocks," when he says it, and he's a gator. And lobcock is slang for flaccid wiener back then. So when you called somebody a lobcock, you were calling them impotent. So he's like, "Greetings,
Ah,
impotent ones," kind of thing. So
yeah.
it's, and it's silly and it's funny, but that's his personality, and that's what he would do in that situation, even though he's getting ready to kill these people, right?
Right. Right.
But he's making light of it because it's amplified his sort of lack of seriousness about everything. He doesn't take anything really that seriously. So naturally, when he's in the gator, he's going to be even more like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's all characters, and I mean,
Yeah.
you know this. You're writers. Characters are what matter. Plot
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
important, but only to a certain degree. You've got to create characters that people like, connect with, and want to see more of. If you do that, the plot's not that important, honestly. The plot's just the structure. It's the
Yeah.
characters that make it interesting. It's why this guy has never gone away.
Yeah. Right.
Because people
Oh
love
yeah.
Batman. You can tell
Yeah.
any Batman story you want, and people will buy it because it's Batman. You
Yeah.
know.
That's true. Very true. Crazy Man said, "Lobcock, you learn something new every day." It's true. That's
No,
awesome.
especially with history. Man, even when you
Oh
go to
yeah.
school for so
Oh
long,
yeah.
they do not teach you enough at all when it
No.
comes to
No.
history.
Well, it's
Well,
really hard
they
to.
don't make
It's
it
hard.
interesting either.
No, and
Yeah.
it's
You know.
it's hard to get slang of the period because you really have to dig to find it because so many of
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
words are not in use anymore.
Right.
And I'm almost gonna have to put a glossary in the back because people don't even know what they're saying. They're like, "What is a lobcock? I don't get it." Oh, well, I got it. And of course, naturally, he would
Uh,
say that because he's Mr. Lothario. He's the one
yeah.
that's running around, having affairs and stuff. So he prides himself as a virile man. So naturally, what's he going to do to insult his enemies? He's going to call them that say they're not virile. You know,
Right.
that's a character trait right there.
Yeah. That's really cool. I love it. So, okay, Murph, you got any more? You got anything else? Or are we good?
Oh, I can go on forever with questions. So I mean,
Okay.
go.
Well, I'm just going. Okay, we're going on like an hour and 40, and I
Well,
Michael
think
okay,
we
I
just
got
Jackson's
a
need.
good question.
bad. Michael
So
Jackson's bad will make us finish. How about
I I love the X-Men.
Ah,
And like you said, I always loved the more. I mean, first as a kid, like, oh, claws and laser beams out of your eyes and controlling the weather is great. But the characters are awesome. One of the big things that I always loved about Wolverine is even though he can heal, he always feels it. Even when the claws come out, he feels it. Is there anything like that with the characters that where there's a negative to it? Yeah, I mean, a lot of the X Men, there's negatives where Cyclops can never have his glasses off. Rogue can't touch people. Like,
Well, yeah, there are some negatives. I mean, the first negative is the transformation is extremely excruciatingly painful
mm,
because the pelt attacks you. I mean, and it like there's a shot where the pelt that has the wolf's fangs, they go right into his eye sockets, just sink right into his eyes,
oh
and
god,
it's like eating him, and it merges with you. So that's a horrible experience. If you stay in the form too long, obviously you start losing your humanity, and you will eventually become that animal. Not a werewolf anymore. You will become a wolf
yeah.
and forget who
oh
you
okay,
are completely. You also, Diane has to, you know, the whole thing about the healing thing. The reason you drink her blood is because she regenerates. That's why she ages like Wolverine. She's very like Wolverine that way, and she regenerates. So that's why she doesn't age as fast as we do. So when she gives you that essence, his fingers are cut off. His fingers have been taken off.
Okay. Better at 2
and
hours.
and his fingers start growing back every time he
Oh wow.
transforms. He starts healing because he keeps consuming her essence, and it's putting that healing power into his body. So there's lots of pros, probably more pros than cons, but the biggest con is you can't do it without her
Yeah.
or without a pelt. So there's a lot of asterisks here. You don't have the pelt,
Right.
you ain't doing it. You don't have Diane, you're not doing it. You know, you stay too long, you're gonna become the animal. So what happens if you turn into the werewolf and Diane gets killed or something, and you're still in wolf form? You're screwed because she's got to bring you back. You're gonna be a wolf
Oh,
now. Yeah.
okay.
So she is the in point and the out. That didn't come out too well, did it? She's okay. It's time to wrap this up. She is
That's
the
awesome.
alpha and the omega. How about that? The
Okay.
beginning and the
Good.
end of
And the
the
end.
whole
That's
process.
awesome. So let me ask you a question. So for like skinwalkers, because I know that's a lot of, you're pulling a little bit from that. I know they were always afraid that I've heard stories that the skinwalkers didn't age. They've met men who they thought were skinwalkers, and they would see them when they were young, and it was even generational. Their father would meet the person, and then they would meet that person again, and that person didn't age. And this
Mhm.
person had become a man now who met him, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, my father had to deal with that, person."
Mhm.
And have you heard stories like that? Is that kind of
Yes,
some of the
they
stuff you're
thought.
pulling from?
Yeah, because I mentioned in the handbook that some of them thought they were actually fallen angels.
Okay, okay,
Like
interesting.
especially when Christianity came over to the New World, and it started, sort of influencing tradition
Yeah,
and beliefs, and
right.
they learned about angels and things like that, and many of them would say that's what that is. That's why they're not aging. They're not
Wow.
actually human, and that's why they
Oh,
won't
that's
talk
cool.
about it. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I based Dione on. Again, is she's like the ultimate skinwalker
Version
because
of that. Yeah.
she doesn't age like everyone else, and it seems like
Right.
she's immortal and all this other stuff. Um, but she doesn't necessarily know where that lineage comes from. Does
Okay.
it come from angelic? Does it go back to what you guys are
Yeah.
talking about, to the Nephilim, where sons of
Right.
God, came down and saw the women were beautiful and whatever. So
Yes.
all of that kind of, I leave some of that to imagination because,
Okay.
like we were saying earlier, I don't
I
want to
like that
answer
too.
every
That's cool.
question. You don't want every question to be
No.
answered. You want
No.
some mysteries to be there, and just like I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
know why,
Yes.
where her bloodline comes from. There is in Zero, I do introduce the main villains that are going to go throughout all these series, and it's a male and female Indian Algonquins shaman, both of them, and they're married, they're husband and wife, but they're Hakan and Zaltana, and they are the ultimate practitioners of the dark magic that
Okay.
actually where all of this came from. And they pursue Diane throughout time, but what I've done with them is their their spirit animal is the goat, and they, if you're familiar with the Baphomet
Yep.
is a transgender demon. It's the goat
Okay.
head with the
Yes.
breasts and the as above so below.
Okay. Yep.
Mhm.
That's
I've seen that.
them. That's them. So what they
Oh,
Okay.
that's
do,
cool.
they put on the pelt together and they merge into one creature, which is the Baphomet. So it's the ultimate evil throughout the ages, the ultimate evil shapeshifter, whatever you want to call it, Wendigo, with the goat's head and the horns and everything. And they are way more powerful than she is. But they can't touch her because of her purity. Like that's the
Okay.
one
That
thing
makes sense.
standing in the way. She needs to be, defiled basically.
Right.
And so that's the one thing that's shielding and protecting her. So when she compromises that, if that happens, they're going to see their opportunity to come after her again. But I give that backstory in Zero. So I'm really building on all this. What started
That's
as
awesome.
Last of the Mohicans
Yeah.
and werewolves is now expanding beyond that to
Yeah, that's cool.
something bigger, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, man, sounds awesome. I like it.
Thanks.
Gonna have to get it. That's for sure.
Oh, you know what? There's some crazy animals out there that people don't know exist. Me and Derek both live in like Central Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and we have one of the best zoos. And they actually have a safari as well. And I forget what these things are called, but they're like they almost look like pigs and um, those elephants that had hair. Uh,
Woolly
Mammoth?
mammoth.
yeah, and they're small like that, but they can jump like 20 feet. So,
You don't-
Oh,
like
wow.
when we were doing it, they're like, "Yeah, we want to stay away from them because they can literally jump in here and get us if they wanted to."
I'll have to look that up. That sounds interesting.
That is. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
so there you got a lot to do with that too, because there's some crazy animals that people don't know
Aren't
about.
familiar with.
Would
Yeah,
be really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. There are. I mean, and you want it accessible, obviously, to the reader to some
Right.
degree, but it wouldn't hurt to every once in a while throw something in there that's unusual and goes, oh, what is that? That's going to be weird, So yeah, I'm open to that in the future, definitely. Let's just got to get issues 5 and 6 done.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then- and
Oh
then,
man, I know. But it's
long
taken us
nights.
a long time just to even get our first issue off the
Oh
ground.
yeah,
So
It's work.
Uh,
I mean, comics are hard work. There's no doubt about
yeah,
it. And publishing
really
and
is.
distributing and shipping and pre-press and all of that.
yeah, we haven't even got that far yet.
Well, I had the advantage of having done it my whole life, so the pre-press stuff
Yeah.
wasn't a
Yeah.
problem for me because I'd done it before. But a lot of artists that get into this, they don't think about it, and then when the book's ready to go to press, they don't know what to do.
Thanks,
they
Peter.
don't understand. So
Yeah.
it's see you guys. See you, Peter.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the thing is that's some of the stuff I'm worried about too because that's really I don't know any of it, but I've been learning everything as we go along because this is our first time, And
Yeah.
so I've always loved comics but never tried it before.
Yeah, there's just so many things. I mean, like Michael Bancroft did a whole stream on like making sure the K values which is black, the black ink were
Yeah,
reduced enough so you didn't get a muddy book. There's so many things variables in there. Lettering needs to be vectorized or vector based so that it's really crisp and clean. You don't want your letters to be raster based like the
Okay.
images. You want it on top of the images so they're
okay,
clean. And things like 100% black is not really a rich black. You've got to add 30% yellow, 30% magenta, and 30% cyan on top of it so that you get a rich black. Otherwise, it looks like dark gray. These are things you don't know unless you've worked with
oh
printers
wow,
yeah. I would
Yeah.
never known that. I've never
before. Yeah,
heard that.
there's a lot of things like that.
So did you have to get somebody to finish your book for that, or did you? I mean, you had to do it basically.
I've done. I used to do color separations when I was in my 20s,
Okay,
manually. Like I'm talking clear acetate with a red opaquing pen going yellow 50% and coloring everything on there 50%, then taking another one, yellow 25%, magenta 25%.
Oh,
and
you've
they
got to
would,
be kidding me.
yeah, and they would overlay it. I had a printer that was a newspaper printer, and he
Oh my
printed on
gosh.
newsprint, and he'd lay these things over and make the plates out of them and run them that way. And if you missed a color, like if a horse was brown and you left the red off and you only had the yellow and the blue, you had a green horse.
yeah,
and you didn't know it till it was printed, because when it was printed, you're like, oh my God,
Yes.
the horse is green. And you forgot the red.
Oh man, that stinks. Wow, that's some stuff I had no idea about. So we're gonna have to get into that, figure that out.
Yeah, thank God for digital, right?
Oh yeah, digital. If I had had digital back then, it would have been so much easier. But I was determined to have a color book and an affordable color book. And color separations is really what you spent the money on. So if you did them yourself, it was time consuming, but you saved thousands of dollars.
Right.
So that's the only reason why I was able to do a color book at that time. Because my book was only selling like 3,000 copies an issue. It was not a big hit or anything. But I still was able to deliver a color book at only 3,000 copies back then.
Wow, that's awesome. And it looks like you're doing really great with this campaign. So it's in demand, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
How long has it been in demand now?
A year.
A year? Wow.
Keep in mind, when it closed, if you look at the campaign, it hadn't even hit $15,000 when I closed.
Wow.
It's made what,
Let me see.
40,000, yeah, $40,000 in demand.
40,000. Wow.
Now,
That
can
is
Isn't
you?
that
awesome.
crazy?
Yeah, that's great.
It's because no one had heard of it. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't get a lot of exposure those first 60 days. It wasn't until I kept doing streams and going out there, word of mouth spread, and
Yeah.
then I kept adding things like the handbook and issue 0, and of course that helped boost the numbers. But it was just, I've never seen a campaign. It's the turtle. It's not the hare. It was the
Yeah.
tortoise. It was the
Yeah.
tortoise. Just slowly, momentum, and it never stopped, and it still
That's
hasn't
awesome.
stopped. It's still going.
That's
So it's
really cool.
amazing.
That's
It
what I
is.
hope for ours. I mean, I don't think we're going to come out strong out of the gate. I think it's going to be like that for us. We're going to have to keep building that,
Well,
stepping up every time.
every campaign's different too. You never know.
It
There's
is.
so
It
many
is.
factors. It could be the idea. It can be the art. It could be getting on the right stream. It could. I don't know the
Yeah.
answers. All I know is,
Yeah.
when you find something that strikes and it's hot, stay with it.
Yeah.
Don't veer off into another title or another book. Stay with the title that's working, because it's only
Yeah.
going to build. I mean, look at what Malin's done with Graveyard Shift. It just,
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing's a beast, and it
Yeah.
always
It's
was. But
great.
I mean, it's just keeps going and going.
Yeah. I know
Now, can you?
we've kind of. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
I was gonna say, with In Demand, is it only through Indiegogo, or do you have a website?
I do have a website. When Bancroft created the CG Now, he links
Yeah.
everybody's
Nice.
website to it.
Yeah.
So all the books that are already printed can be ordered from the website
Okay.
as they come out. And of course, now that I have a distributor, they're going to be in bookstores too by the end of the year. So they'll be available there as well.
Nice.
Yeah,
Through
just
what stores?
any retailers that order it, you know.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, direct market, or Liberty distribution. So, whoever their retailers are that order from them, Second and Charles might be one of them. I think they'll be in the stores. You don't make a lot of money, obviously, on retail, because you got to sell it half price. So
Yeah.
this $3.99 comic, I'm not
Yeah.
even getting $2 for it, but you do it because you're getting more readers.
Yeah.
You're getting it in people's hands who otherwise would never have gotten it, because they will
Right.
not go to Indiegogo necessarily. So if I can get more readers and they like the book, and I do my next campaign, guess who's coming to the next campaign to get the War
Yeah.
Party? The readers I got through the bookstore. So
Right.
to me, it makes no sense to just shut all that out and forget it, because it's like, well, it's dying and no one goes to books. Well, here's my theory: as long as there's stores selling comic books, I want my book in there.
Yeah.
When the day comes when there's no stores out there selling comic books, fine, we'll be all online. But until
Yeah.
that day, I'm getting my books in stores. It
I
just
like
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I like that thought. It's
Someone
great.
told us, though, it's not worth to do In Demand on Indiegogo because of once you go in demand, like you're only getting half back, something like that. Didn't someone tell us that there?
What? No.
They were saying there was a lot of fees that come along with keeping it in.
Yeah.
Are there you getting
I think
fees
it's
for
just,
that?
I mean, the fees are the same they've always been. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't.
Didn't they make it seem like if it's in demand, you weren't getting as much money as before?
All right,
And
well,
that it
let
was
me
better
put it
to have
this
a
way. Let me
website?
put it this way. If I hadn't have gone in demand, my campaign would have made less than $15,000.
Yeah.
Because I kept it in demand, I'm at 54 and climbing. You tell me where the money is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's hard to say because I think I think they've been in demand for a little while, but
if
I
it's
mean that
not
could be
selling,
different things.
if it's not selling, I know what it is. Indiegogo withholds a certain amount of money for any
Yes.
potential refunds.
Oh,
So
okay.
until you
Okay.
close the campaign, you don't get the rest of that money. It's like, it depends on the size of the campaign. It could be $150. It could be $5,000. It depends
That's
on
what
how
it
much you
was.
raise. That's what it is. But if your campaign's doing well, there's no reason to take it out and in demand unless you're going to launch another campaign. And even then, it depends on your business model, because
Right.
I'm shipping 2 more shipments out. It would be crazy for me to close it, because I'm telling you, I'm going to get another boost when 4 arrives, and when 0 arrives, and when 5 and 6
Right.
arrive. I'm going to get another boost, because people are
Right.
going to be reviewing it, they're going to be unboxing it, the excitement's going to keep building.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, this thing could keep climbing. I could be in the 60s or 70s or 80,000s this time next year. I don't know. It could happen.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
there's no reason to stop. You know, if you're winning, keep winning. Right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
why?
No,
Why?
definitely.
You know.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. It's you know, and I think some of it, you know, like us, I hear all these people like, do your sign up months early and stuff. So we did the sign up months early, and it was tough because we haven't got that many signups for our book, and it's kind of made us, well, it made me a little nervous, to be honest, because I'm like, man, should we go ahead and launch, or should we wait longer and get more signups ahead of time? And
Are you
yeah, I don't know.
offering, what incentives are you offering for the sign up? Like, are you
Um,
offering?
at first, we were offering a sketch card, then we were offering a discount tier, then we went to a secret tier, a secret discount tier. That's where we're at now.
Yeah, I had the same problem when I did the signups. I think I only had like 150 people or something like
Okay.
that. It was not a lot. Um, and I've heard people go, "Oh, you got to have at least 500 or 600 people." And I'm like, "You're not going to
Yeah.
get that
Right.
unless you're John Malin or somebody big. It's not going to happen." So
Yeah.
if you can get 100 around there, or even 50 or 60, I would consider that. Here's the thing: of the 150 people that I had, I think less than half of them actually backed the book.
Okay.
So signups
Yeah.
don't really mean that
That's
much,
what I was
to be
wondering.
honest
Yeah.
with you. I think they're overrated. I
Okay.
think the point of it, a pre-launch, is just to get the word out there that it's coming.
Yeah.
And that just because people don't sign up doesn't mean they're not going to back the book.
Right.
But all of the things traditionally that I was told I had to have a successful campaign, like a solid channel with a big fan base, which I don't have, streaming all the time, which I don't, a big sign up email list, which I didn't have, being featured on the bigger channels, which I never really was. I mean, Raging Golden Eagle was the only big channel that ever had me on.
Okay.
None of the things that I was told I had to have a successful campaign, I had. And it's part of the reason why I only raised 14,000 the first 60 days. But because I was persistent in doing what I'm doing right here, right now, talking, going on streams, spending time. It's
Yeah.
also why I'm behind, by the way, because when
Yeah.
I'm doing this, I'm not
I'm
drawn.
sorry.
So,
We just took 2 hours
right.
out.
So
Of you.
you can't have it both ways. You want a successful campaign, guess what?
Yeah.
You're not going to be drawing as much. You're going to
Yeah.
be out
Yeah.
there hustling, hustling, hustling.
Right.
But I compare it to, if you think of it like a band, the big guys are the guys playing the arenas. They play a few arenas and they make a lot of money.
Right.
I'm like the band playing the small clubs, selling CDs and T-shirts, but I'm playing a lot of small clubs. So I
Yeah.
went club to club, sold a shirt, maybe just sold a T-shirt here, maybe a couple
Right.
CDs
Right.
there. Maybe one night I had a great night and cleaned up like I did on Rage of Golden Eagle. I think I made $2,000 that night on his show. It was insane.
Yeah.
But it works. But you got to put the
Mhm.
work in. That's really what it
Right,
is. It's
right.
just hustle. It's not mailing list. It's not how big your channel is. It's not whether or not Ethan wants to have you on his show. And he did shout me out a couple times, and I appreciate it. Ethan's one of my backers, actually. But
awesome.
I was never on his show. I never went on his show.
Right.
And there's other people that have been on his show and have not raised half what I've raised.
Yeah, I was
So
actually pretty surprised when you
Yeah,
just
so
said
it
that.
doesn't.
because
It doesn't. Exposure's not really that important unless people want what you're offering. If people
Yeah.
want what you're offering, exposure's great. But
Yeah.
if they want what you're offering and you don't get the exposure, if you just hustle and do the work, my campaign is testament to it. I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
No one knew who the heck I was a year ago. Nobody.
It's awesome.
I was a nobody, even though I've been in the industry since '92.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who I was. I'm not the best artist in CG by a mile. I'm not the best, probably not the best writer either. But I believe in it. I put my heart into it. I
Yeah.
talk about it, and I hustle, and I do everything I can do to make the backers happy.
Right.
And it's worked. And
That's
that's
awesome.
all I can say. And I listen to
Yeah,
Rob
yeah,
Arnold. Listen to Rob
yeah,
Arnold.
yeah. We listen. I mean, a lot of what we do
Yeah.
or what we've done was from Rob, so that's true. Um, but then, you know, it's you're wondering, and it's all kind of like where are you at, where you want to be, and you do look at other people's campaigns because you're going, how can I do it like that? And you're going, then everybody goes, well, you can't do it like that because
They're all
it's
different.
not. Yeah, it's all different.
They're all different. Yeah, I mean, your boy Zach can launch a campaign, go to bed, and a
Yeah,
week later, he's already raised $30,000, $40,000 in
yeah,
1 week. I mean,
right.
it just depends. There's just so many variables, but what I can say is this: I would have been happy with 25,000 or 20,000. I considered that a massive success. The fact that I'm at 54 right now, sometimes I just can't believe. Like it
Oh yeah,
boggles my mind.
that's awesome.
And that is not the norm at all, as you all know. I mean,
Yeah.
it really isn't. Most first campaigns are lucky to hit 10 or 15
Oh yeah,
grand, and
definitely.
that's a
Yes.
success. So if you keep your sights low, which I did, I mean, I was thinking, God, if I could only hit 30,000, if I could only do, like downcast one numbers, that's a hit for me, and it is. But if you'd have told me a year ago you're going to be at 54, I'd be like, you're nuts. You're crazy. There's no way I'm going to. Like, if
That's
you tell
awesome.
me now I'm going to hit 60 or 70 or 100, I'd be like, there's no way that's going to happen. But now I'm like, I don't know. It
Yeah,
could.
yeah,
Anything could happen. I've made $34,000 in 1 year since I closed. So, you know, but keep the sights realistic. Keep your expectations. Manage your expectations, and good things will happen. That's all
yeah,
I can say.
yeah,
If you're hoping for 10 and you get 20, that's a win. Or 15, that's a win. If you're hoping for 50, 60, 70, 80, and you get 20, it's still a win, but because you were hoping for 70, 80, you're disappointed. You see what I mean? So it's like,
right,
don't do that to yourself, because there's no secret formula. I'm here to tell you. There
right.
isn't. Not getting
That's
on
cool.
Ethan's show, that's not a secret formula. We see it works for some, it doesn't work for others.
Right,
Not hiring the best artists in the world, you can do that and still not make that much money.
right.
Industry pros are coming out and they're barely making $15,000, $20,000 when they should be doing
Yes.
6 figures, and they're not.
Yeah,
And people with way bigger names and cachet than me, and they haven't even raised what I've raised. So none of it makes sense. It's just, the only thing I can say is this is a damn good IP, and I'm
oh
going to
yeah,
say it, and
Yes.
it
yeah, man.
works, and that's why my numbers are what they are. It's not me,
Yeah,
it's War Party, and that's why I'm going to invest more into this, because there's something to it that people are connecting with, and I'm going to
Yeah.
keep giving them more.
yeah, man.
You know?
I think that's great.
And it's 100% yours.
Yes. No investors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not
man.
one.
No
This is the
control.
first time ever, by the way.
That's cool.
Everything I've done in the past, I've had investors.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. Well, congrats to that. We want to thank you
Yeah,
for coming
awesome.
on our show. You
Yeah, guys.
have given us a lot to go with, and good conversation for sure. So we had a good time. And where can we catch you lately, or you're not going to be on streams? You're going to be working on your book.
I'm on Twitter, Rampart
Okay.
Press. So Professor Murf at Rampart Press, and I have a YouTube channel, Professor Murf, but I haven't posted videos in a while. I need to get better about putting videos up, and I will.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm just having to devote 90% of my time at this point to just working and getting the book done.
Okay.
Because I've spent so much of my time doing this, and it's why my numbers are what they are. But at some point, you got to go, okay, enough's enough. You
Yeah.
really got to buckle down
Right.
and get this stuff done, because the backers are waiting, and I want them to come back. I want them to stay with me throughout this thing, and not be like,
Yeah.
well, he takes too long. I got all my books, but it took too long, so I don't want to do it again. And there's people like that. They'll get
Yeah.
angry, and they're like, you got to remind them, guys, you're building something with me.
Yeah.
This is not just
Yeah, good
pre-ordering.
point.
You're
That's
not
the
just
scary part for
pre-ordering.
me, I think. Yeah. Because I have a full-time job, so I can't draw all the time. So it's
Right.
like I'm going to put it out as quick as I can, but what do we do to get issue 2?
Thanks, Oz. By the way, Oz said you keep putting out War Pride. I'll keep backing. Appreciate
Yeah, that was
Oz.
great.
He's in Australia, and
Cool.
I went ahead and sent him some books now because I just said He goes, it's hurting my soul that I haven't sent you anything because you back so much. I was like, I'm sending you what I have right now, and I don't care what it costs. I know it's going to
That's
be like
awesome,
$40 freaking dollars to $50.
That's cool.
It's insane what it costs to ship to Australia. It's just
Yeah.
brutal, guys. Do
That's
not
what I've been hearing.
underprice shipping. Do not underprice shipping. You're better off not getting the backer, but having the correct shipping amount than losing the international backer than it is to underprice your shipping, because it will sink you if you're not careful. It's nasty, and it's gone up since I closed my campaign.
Yeah, it has gone up.
No.
And we're going to have a digital, hoping people will go to the digital that know. You know what I mean? Hopefully people will go.
We'll give them that option.
Well, and I just did that. I just did that for my international backers a few days ago. I said it was really bothering me that everyone's reading it in the States and talking about it, and they're all sitting there. I've got people overseas that have invested, like I said, $1,000 in this campaign.
Yeah.
So what I did was I put a link up on my website, a passcode link that has the PDFs of the first 3 issues and the handbook, even if they didn't order it, and they can go there and download the digital copies and read them if they want to, even though they haven't gotten their books yet. So I'm trying everything I can to make them happy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm telling you guys, make sure you get those shipping rates correct on foreign, because I charged $20 for shipping, and it's on average about $30 or $40 to a lot of countries.
Oh, wow.
So I'm taking a
gosh.
bath on shipping foreign international. Yeah.
Well, I know there are some people out there. I know Hockey has talked about taking on a business where he's going to try to get people to send everything to him, and then he'll distribute in Australia for everybody.
We need to do that as soon as possible.
Yeah. So
the next campaign, I'm going to have to charge what it is, and if I lose backers, I don't have a choice. It's too expensive.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
When you're operating at our numbers, 50,000 may sound like a lot, but not when you're shipping 4 times.
Oh yeah, it's
so
off the hook.
It gets eaten up very fast. You'd be surprised, even the guys making 6 figures, they're not making as much money as you think if they have a really big, like Billy Tucci's omnibus. That thing's expensive to make.
Yeah,
he put in like 180 or something, which is great. I mean, I'm sure he's fine, but don't kid yourself. That's an expensive proposition. That omnibus he did.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome. A lot to think about, that's for sure. But hey, man, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for
We'll have
having
to
me.
do this again sometime.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I love talking about.
Oh yeah, definitely. When you have one of the other books come, just let us know.
Yeah,
definitely
guys, and best of
one.
luck with your launch. And
thank you.
Definitely make sure you play the circuit. I know you know that already, but you got to get out there, play those clubs, sell those CDs, sell those T-shirts.
That is a great analogy, though, with the band.
It is. I mean, it's perfect.
It is. Yeah, that's what it is.
All right. Well, thank you to the chat.
Again. I'm going to bed.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, and we will see you all very soon.
All right. Have a good night.
See ya.